This is the last video of the lectures from chapter 15 on microbes, and we're still looking at viruses. Specifically, we're focusing this last section on HIV. So HIV has the same sorts of issues as something like influenza. It's got the same sort of structure, but it actually has some additional issues that makes it even more difficult to control. There are companies who have been working on a vaccine. I know it's on testing, and we'll see if it actually is going to be able to be put on the market as a full-time vaccine with the kind of effectiveness that we would like. But let's take a look at what causes HIV to be so difficult to treat. So HIV is an RNA virus like influenza, and so it carries its RNA strands inside, but it also has this reverse transcriptase. Remember, if it ends in ACE, it's an enzyme. And it has an envelope, so it has glycoproteins like influenza. And so it comes in to do its replication, just like we saw with other viruses. So the capsid breaks open, you get the RNA coming out, that transcriptase comes out, and what it's doing, it's called a retrovirus, HIV, and what it's doing is it's taking the RNA and reverting it back to DNA. So it's writing the RNA to DNA so that the DNA can then be transported into the nucleus, like we saw when we looked at reproduction in an earlier lecture. Then you get the same process where the host is going to make the parts. So you're going to get RNA made, it's going to make proteins, you're going to get that transcriptase made, it's all going to get packaged up, it's going to get shipped out. The thing is that when that virus gets shipped out, you can get errors built into the RNA along all of these steps, and those errors can change how the virus is acting. It can also change these glycoproteins, these surface proteins. And so in just a single individual, you can actually have multiple strains of HIV, even though that individual has only been infected once. In addition, the drugs that the individual is being treated with, sometimes those strains can pick up resistance to those drugs, and then those will be copied and passed on to future strains in that individual. The other issue with HIV is what kinds of cells it invades. So it is a specific attacker. It attacks helper T cells, which are part of the white blood cell system. And if you remember, white blood cells are part of your immune system, the system that is actually protecting against something like viruses and bacteria. And so this HIV, when it's in a full-scale production, it actually ends up destroying these white blood cells. And so the white blood cell count goes down, don't have as many of these white blood cells around. And so what happens with HIV, it's not actually the HIV that is the problem. You may have heard of HIV/AIDS. HIV is the human immunovirus. Or immunodeficiency virus. What it does is it attacks the immune system, and then AIDS is what is going to cause actually the individual to die. Because what happens is you normally got those white blood cells that are working to identify and destroy cells that have been infected by the virus, but if you get an overwhelming number of them being destroyed, by these HIV viruses being replicated, this becomes a problem because those white blood cells are supposed to be hunting down not just the HIV, but other viruses that could be causing diseases as well as bacteria. So you get an immune system collapse. That's the AIDS section of it, autoimmune deficiency syndrome. And what happens is the individual usually is going to die from something like a cold, pneumonia, something that normally wouldn't be a problem for most people, but because their immune system is compromised, they don't have any way to fight back from it. So that is the end of chapter 15. If you have any questions about things about the coronavirus, let me know. I can direct you to some videos. I know that a lot of people are really interested in what's going on. There's a lot of information out there. Please be aware that some of that information is not correct. So please, if you're looking for information, find reputable sources like the CDC. Um, and uh, yeah, that's the end of our microbes, and I will be posting the last section on the introduction to plants here shortly.